Power is not in the noise. Power is in the silence before the noise. The people who win the biggest battles are the ones who never show the battlefield. You lose energy every time you explain yourself. You lose leverage every time you react. This audiobook is a declaration of war on impulsive behavior, emotional leakage, and unnecessary battles. You cannot win a battle you don't understand. And you cannot understand a battle when you're too busy reacting to every sound, every emotion, every provocation, every distraction that flies toward you. Your first discipline in life, the discipline that separates masters from amateurs, is simple. Stop responding. Start observing. You have no idea how much you're missing because you're talking too fast, explaining too much, and reacting too easily. You have no idea how many opportunities slip through your fingers because you fill silence with noise instead of using silence as your weapon. You think you're being assertive. You think you're being involved. You think you're being clear. But in reality, you're bleeding information. You're leaking emotion. You're telling the world exactly where your weak points are. Here's the truth. The quiet person sees everything. The reactive person sees nothing. That's the key. That's the shift. That's the discipline this chapter will beat into you. The power of observation over reaction. When you stop responding, you give your brain room to work. When you hold your silence, you finally hear what's actually being said. When you step back, you finally see the motive behind the words, not just the words. You gain intel. You gain leverage. You gain control. And you need control. Because without control, you're just a puppet pulled by the strings of someone else's emotions. Let me say it again. Observe first. React never. Respond only when the outcome is already decided. This must become your internal law, a law that governs your behavior when your emotions want to take the wheel. Most people speak to feel significant. High performers speak to shift outcomes. Elite performers speak only when the move is already checkmate. You want to be elite? You must learn to sit in silence long enough to understand the board you're playing on. The CEOs, the negotiators, the elite players. Let's pull this out of theory into the real world. Let's talk about the people who win consistently. Do you know who speaks last in a high-stakes meeting? The person who has the most power. Do you know who waits the longest before giving an answer in a negotiation? The person who understands leverage. Do you know who listens twice as much as they talk? The person who refuses to waste energy. CEOs, military strategists, elite negotiators, they all know the same truth. The first person to react loses. They wait. They watch. They gather every piece of information the room is offering. People reveal their fears when they talk. People reveal their intentions when they talk. People reveal their weak spots when they talk. And the person who stays silent collects all of it. You have that same choice. You can waste your breath trying to control the scene. Or you can use your silence to understand the scene. One drains your power, one multiplies it. The cost of constant response. Let me tell you what reacting does to you. It makes you predictable. It makes you transparent.
It makes you emotionally exposed. When you react immediately, you hand over your emotional state to the other person. You let them decide what you feel and when you feel it. You let them trigger you, guide you, and push you into decisions you haven't even thought through. Why? Because you didn't pause. You didn't observe. You didn't hold your ground long enough to see the truth beneath the moment. You have a choice, and that choice is simple. Stop being a reactor. Become an observer. You don't need their permission to wait before speaking. You don't need their approval to take a breath first. You don't need their validation to stay quiet while you gather clarity. Every second you spend in observation is a second you're building strength. Every moment you delay reaction is a moment you reclaim control. That's the key. The internal shift you must make. This discipline is not just about behavior. It's about identity. You must become someone who leads with awareness, not impulse. Someone who moves with intention, not emotion. Someone who acts with precision, not panic. You might think silence is weakness, but that's because you've been taught wrong. Weakness is when you respond instantly, obedient to your emotions. Strength is when you observe, analyze, and choose your response not out of fear, but out of strategy. It's not about being cold. It's about being disciplined. It's not about shutting people out. It's about protecting your clarity. It's not about avoiding life. It's about navigating life like a master, not a victim. You have a choice, and every time you choose observation, your life shifts in a better direction. Real-world application. What you must do today. You need practical steps? Here they are. 1. Bite your tongue for 3 seconds before responding to anything. Those 3 seconds will save relationships, opportunities, money, and peace. That's the key. 2. Maintain a neutral facial expression when someone tries to provoke you. People lose their power when they cannot read your reaction. You don't need their permission to be unreadable. 3. Ask questions instead of giving answers. Let them talk. Let them reveal. Let them expose the truth through their own words. 4. Observe body language, not just speech. Most people communicate their real intentions with their posture, their eyes, and their tone. You'll only catch it if you're not busy preparing your next reaction. 5. Respond only when you know your words will move the situation forward. Not to be right, not to be loud, not to defend, but to direct. This is discipline. This is control. This is power. What you will become. If you apply this, everything changes. You become calmer. You become sharper. You become harder to manipulate. You become someone who cannot be baited into emotional traps. And when you stop reacting, you watch the world adjust itself around your stillness. People begin to respect you, not because you're louder, but because you're stronger. Not because you dominate the room, but because you understand the room. You will notice things you never saw before. You will hear things beneath the surface. You will see motives before they show themselves. Why? Because you observed first, because you reacted never, because you responded only when the outcome was already decided.
Your emotions are loud. Your emotions are demanding.
Your emotions will try to take the wheel every chance they get. But hear this clearly. Your emotions are not your strategy. If you let emotions drive your decisions, you will lose deals, damage relationships, and destroy your authority. Not because you're a bad person, but because emotions move fast, and good decisions do not. You have a choice. You can lead your emotions, or your emotions can lead you. That's the key. The cost of emotional decision-making. Let's be brutally honest. Most of the pain in your life did not come from someone else. It came from your reaction to someone else. It came from the message you sent too fast, the words you said too quickly, the anger you fed too easily. It's not about your feelings. It's about your discipline. It's not about the trigger. It's about the control you failed to hold. Think about the last argument you had. Did your words create peace, or did your emotions escalate chaos? Think about the last decision you made in a hurry. Did it strengthen your life, or did it make everything harder? You know the answer, and that's why you're here. You're here to learn the discipline that separates the calm from the chaotic, the grounded from the reactive, the powerful from the emotional. The power of the pause. Silence is not just the absence of noise. Silence is the cooling chamber for overheated emotions. Every emotional reaction becomes weaker when you don't feed it. That's why the phrase for this chapter is, feel it, don't feed it. You are allowed to feel angry. You are allowed to feel hurt. You are allowed to feel overwhelmed, but you are not allowed to let those feelings dictate your next move. You have a choice. Feeling something is human. Feeding it is destructive. And the difference between feeling and feeding is one thing: silence. Silence slows the emotion. Silence settles the storm. Silence gives your logical brain time to wake up and take control. That's the key. Real-world examples of emotional downfall. Let's talk real life. Let's talk about the people who lose everything, not because they lack talent, but because they lacked control. A CEO who fires someone because he's angry. A parent who shouts and breaks trust. A leader who sends an impulsive message. A friend who speaks without thinking. A partner who reacts out of fear instead of clarity. Emotion ruined the moment. Emotion ruined the connection. Emotion ruined the outcome. Not because emotion is the enemy, but because reactivity is the enemy. You need to understand this. People trust leaders who can stay grounded. People follow the calm, not the frantic. People open up to those who don't explode when something goes wrong. Your emotions don't make you weak. Your reactions do. The shift you must make. You must retrain your internal system. You must stop letting the first feeling become your first action. Here's the shift. Feelings are signals. Actions are choices. You don't need their permission to pause. You don't need their permission to breathe. You don't need their permission to control your tone, your posture, or your energy. It's not about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally disciplined. It's not about shutting everything down. It's about slowing everything down. You have a choice, and the quality of your life will depend on how often you make the right one. Practical emotional control. What to do today. Let's get practical. Here is the action plan. These steps will rebuild your emotional discipline from the inside out. 1. Delay your reaction by 10 seconds. 10 seconds is small, but 10 seconds saves careers, marriages, friendships, and opportunities. 10 seconds is where logic returns. 10 seconds is where the emotion loses control. Feel it. Don't feed it. 2. Lower your voice instead of raising it. When emotions rise, your instinct is to push your energy outward, but leaders pull their energy inward. Speak quieter, speak slower, speak less. A calm tone destroys chaos. You don't need their permission to stay composed. 3. Ask yourself, what outcome do I want? Most emotional reactions don't lead anywhere. They just release pressure. But when the pressure is gone, you're left with damage. Every time emotion spikes, ask this simple question. What outcome do I want right now? Not what you feel, what you want. That's the key. 4. Don't talk when you're heated. Silence is your shield. If you speak while emotional, you speak from pain, not purpose. Walk away. Breathe. Reset. It's not weakness. It's wisdom. 5. Turn your trigger into data. Instead of saying, "This made me angry," say, "This showed me something." Every emotional trigger is information. Information about your boundaries. Information about your values. Information about your wounds. When you observe your triggers, they lose power. When you feed them, they grow. Feel it, don't feed it. Why this discipline makes you powerful. The strongest person in any room is not the one who speaks the loudest. It's the one who controls their emotional state. That person is clear. That person is grounded. That person is trusted. That person is respected. When you control your emotions, you control your relationships. When you control your emotions, you control your decisions. When you control your emotions, you control your life. You have a choice. And every time you choose discipline over emotional impulse, you win. Every time. This is the shift that will separate your past from your future. Your old self from your new self. Your reactive habits from your strategic mind. Closing moment for this chapter. Your emotions are valid, but they are not your strategy. They are signals, not instructions. They are information, not orders. Feel it, don't feed it. You now understand the cost of emotional reactivity and the power of emotional discipline. You have taken the second step towards unshakable control. Now it's time to build the next layer of power.
If you want real power, you must master one skill, the ability to delay your reaction. Immediate reactions feel good. Immediate reactions feel necessary. Immediate reactions feel justified. But immediate reactions are almost always wrong, because they come from emotion, not strategy, from impulse, not clarity, from fear, not discipline. You have a choice, and if you choose speed over thought, you will lose the moment and the advantage that comes with it. Here's the truth. People reveal everything when you don't respond immediately. That's the key. Silence creates pressure. Delay creates clarity. Waiting creates power. This chapter is about learning how to use time as a weapon, not to avoid, not to hide, but to dominate. The rule is simple, and I want you to memorize it. 10 seconds, 10 minutes, 10 hours. This is how you stop being reactive and start being strategic. This is how you stop playing small and start playing smart. This is how you shift from emotional instinct to intentional action. Say it with me. Delay to dominate. The 10-second rule. Ending instant reaction. The first rule is the simplest and the hardest. Wait 10 seconds before you react to anything emotional. When someone insults you,
when someone challenges you, when someone tests you, when someone triggers you, when someone surprises you. Pause. Breathe. Hold. Observe. Those 10 seconds strip the emotion out of the moment. Those 10 seconds reveal what's actually happening. Those 10 seconds stop you from saying something you'll regret. It's not about weakness. It's about discipline. It's about refusing to move until you're ready. You don't need their permission to pause. You don't need their approval to take a breath. You don't owe anyone instant access to your emotions. You have a choice. And every time you wait 10 seconds, you make the right one. Delay to dominate. The 10-minute rule. Retraining your nervous system. The second rule is deeper. It's where transformation starts. When you feel overwhelmed, irritated, anxious, or pressured, step away for 10 minutes. 10 minutes resets your nervous system. 10 minutes shuts down emotional hijacking. 10 minutes turns chaos into clarity. This is the rule for arguments. This is the rule for negotiations. This is the rule for big decisions. This is the rule for heated conversations. People hate when you walk away because your silence forces them to sit with their own behavior. People fear your pause because they can't predict your next move. People reveal their intentions when they don't get your instant reaction. That's the key. In those 10 minutes, you don't rehearse your anger. You don't replay the insult. You don't plan revenge. You breathe. You calm. You think. You remind yourself it's not about emotion. It's about discipline. It's not about proving. It's about positioning. It's not about reacting. It's about choosing. Feel it. Don't feed it. You have a choice, and 10 minutes gives you the space to make it wisely. Delay to dominate. The 10-hour rule. True strategic power. This third rule is the most powerful of all. This is where you become dangerous, in the best way. When you face a major decision, a heated conflict, a critical response, or a life-changing moment, use the ultimate rule. Wait 10 hours. 10 hours isn't about hiding. 10 hours isn't about stalling. 10 hours isn't about fear. 10 hours is about strategy. 10 hours is where your emotions dissolve and your intellect takes the lead. 10 hours is where short-term impulses die and long-term clarity rises. 10 hours is where strength replaces insecurity. Most people react within minutes. The mediocre react within seconds. But the powerful wait. Because they know information arrives with time. Truth arrives with time. Revealed motives arrive with time. People show their desperation. People show their manipulation. People show their real intentions. All you had to do was wait. You don't need their permission to take 10 hours. You don't need to justify it. You don't need to explain it. You have a choice, and this choice creates massive advantage. Delay to dominate. What time reveals? When you delay, the world adjusts. People rethink their tone. People soften their approach. People expose their real fears. People show their real motives. Because silence is a mirror. Time is a spotlight. When you don't react, people panic. When you don't respond, people reveal. When you don't jump, people slip. This is not manipulation. This is discipline. This is control. This is strategy. It's not about ignoring people. It's about observing people. It's not about withdrawing. It's about revealing. It's not about passivity. It's about power. Delay to dominate. Delay to understand. Delay to control. Behavioral training. How to use this today. Let's break this into steps you will use in real life, starting now. When someone triggers you, wait 10 seconds. No facial reaction, no verbal response, no emotional leak. Just stillness, just discipline, just observation. When someone pressures you, take 10 minutes. Walk away. Reset your breathing. Slow your mind. Distance yourself from their urgency. Urgency is how people manipulate you. Delay is how you break their control. When they demand a big decision, ask for 10 hours. Say, "I'll think about it." Say, "I'll get back to you." Say nothing more. You don't need their permission to think. You don't need their permission to take time. You don't need their permission to protect your peace. 10 hours transforms your perspective. 10 hours exposes the truth behind the situation. 10 hours gives you the answer that emotion would have ruined. Why this makes you unbreakable. Delayed reaction is not delay. Delayed reaction is domination. The person who can wait is the person who controls the game. The person who pauses is the person who chooses the outcome. The person who delays is the person who wins. It's not about being slow. It's about being deliberate. It's not about hesitation. It's about precision. It's not about overthinking. It's about outthinking. Delay to dominate. Delay to understand. Delay to win. You have a choice, and the discipline of delayed reaction will become one of the greatest advantages of your life.
There is a moment in every conversation where power shifts. It's not when the other person speaks. It's not when you speak. It's when you choose whether or not to answer. That's the key. Most people don't understand this. They treat every question like a command. Someone asks, and they immediately respond. No pause, no filtering, no evaluation. They react because they think they're supposed to. They react because silence makes them uncomfortable. They react because they believe every question deserves an answer. But you have a choice, and that choice determines your strength. Let me say it clearly. Not every question deserves your energy. Not every question deserves your clarity. Not every question deserves your truth. And silence is also an answer. This chapter is about reclaiming your power by controlling what you respond to. It's about understanding that the person asking the question is not automatically in control. You don't need their permission to stay silent. You don't need their approval to hold your ground. You don't need their validation to protect your peace. It's not about being rude. It's about discipline. It's about removing yourself from traps, tests, and emotional ambushes. Because questions, yes, even simple questions, can be weapons. The reality: some questions are not questions. A question is not always an invitation. Sometimes it's an attack. Sometimes it's manipulation. Sometimes it's a test. In the workplace, people use questions to box you in. Why didn't you finish this? What happened to the deadline? Can you explain your decision? Listen closely. They're not always asking for information. They're probing for weakness. They want a reaction. They want defensiveness. They want you explaining yourself so they don't have to. They want control. But you have a choice. And silence is also an answer. Not responding immediately does something powerful. It forces the other person to sit in the space they created. It makes them reveal their real intention. It makes them explain what they actually meant. It puts you back in control. That's the key. The family test. Family uses questions differently, emotionally, personally, strategically. When are you getting married? Why don't you earn more? Why are you still doing that job? Why don't you be more like your cousin? Let me tell you something. These aren't questions. These are pressure. These are expectations. These are emotional traps designed to control, not support. You don't need their permission to step back. You don't owe them instant emotional availability. You don't owe them explanations for your path. You have a choice. And silence is also an answer. If a question is loaded, step back. If a question is disrespectful, step back. If a question is meant to belittle you, step back. This is discipline, not rebellion, not avoidance. Discipline. The social traps you must stop falling for. People love to corner you socially with questions. What did you mean by that? Why didn't you invite me? You seem different today. What's wrong with you? What's your salary these days? These are questions disguised as curiosity, but they are really invitations to vulnerability. You don't need to defend yourself. You don't need to unpack your private life for public entertainment. You don't need to give people access they haven't earned. You have a choice. And silence is also an answer. Let them sit with their curiosity. Let them deal with their assumptions. Let them wonder. That's the key. The power of selective engagement. Selective engagement means you decide when to speak, when to withhold, when to ignore, when to redirect, when to delay. It is the discipline of choosing your involvement. You don't answer questions that create drama. You don't answer questions that drain your attention. You don't answer questions that hand over your power. Let me give you a rule. If the question doesn't serve your growth, your peace, or your purpose, pause. Maybe you answer later. Maybe you answer never. Maybe your silence becomes the entire message. Because silence is also an answer. Real-world behavioral instructions. Here is what you must do starting today. 1. Scan the intention behind every question. Ask yourself, is this curiosity or control? If it feels like control, pause. 2. Stop explaining yourself unnecessarily. Explaining is often a trap. Once you explain, they push further. Once you justify, they judge harder. 3. Master the power of the neutral expression. No reaction, no tension, no defensive posture. Your calm face is your shield. 4. Use strategic delay. Say, "I'll get back to you," or say, "Nothing at all." A delayed response forces the other person to reset their approach. 5. Redirect when necessary. "This isn't the right time. I'm not discussing that." Or simply, "No." You don't need their permission to say no. You don't need their approval to hold your ground. You don't need their validation to protect your peace. It's not about being rude. It's about discipline. The psychology of not answering. When you don't answer someone's question, something fascinating happens. Their mask slips. Their intention leaks. Their real motive appears.
Because silence triggers their insecurity. Silence exposes their agenda. Silence forces them to reveal whether they were asking to understand or asking to control. You have a choice, and silence is also an answer. Think of negotiators. Think of high-level leaders. Think of elite performers. They do not rush to respond. They do not fill every gap. They do not hand over power by being overly accessible. They choose what matters. They choose what earns their voice. That's the key. The ultimate truth. When you stop answering questions that don't serve you, you stop living on other people's timelines. You stop dancing to their expectations. You stop validating their assumptions. You pull your power back into your own hands. You have a choice, and the choice is discipline.
People fear what they can't predict. People respect what they can't read. People follow what they can't fully understand. And you've been too predictable for too long. Predictability kills authority. Predictability kills influence. Predictability kills presence. That's the key. When people know exactly how you'll react, they stop respecting you. When people know your emotional patterns, they start manipulating you. When people can forecast your every move, they stop treating you as a leader. You have a choice. You can stay predictable, or you can become powerful. And the fastest way to become powerful is simple: silence. Silence makes you unpredictable. Silence makes you unreadable. Silence makes you someone people must figure out before they approach. And when they cannot predict you, they cannot control you. Why predictability destroys your power. People map your behavior. They track your reactions. They memorize what triggers you. They learn what scares you. They study what excites you. They build an internal blueprint of how you respond. If I pressure him, he caves. If I guilt her, she apologizes. If I raise my voice, he backs down. If I give her attention, she gets attached. If they can predict you, they can influence you. If they can predict you, they can play you. If they can predict you, they can defeat you. That's the key. Silence breaks the pattern. Silence destroys their blueprint. Silence forces them into uncertainty. Silence forces them into respect. Because uncertainty is power. You have a choice, and silence is the choice that elevates you. The psychology of mystery. Humans are addicted to certainty. They want to label you. They want to categorize you. They want to know whether you can push you, ignore you, or use you. But when you become quiet, strategically quiet, you disrupt that instinct. Silence creates mystery. Mystery creates respect. Respect creates authority. People fear losing control of a situation. Silence steals that control. People fear not knowing where they stand. Silence forces them to question. People fear miscalculating. Silence increases the risk of miscalculation. When they cannot predict you, they cannot control you. Repeat that until it becomes part of your identity. Real-world examples, the power of being unreadable. Think of the leaders you admire, CEOs, commanders, negotiators. Notice something? They don't overshare. They don't overreact. They don't over-explain.
They leave room for interpretation. They answer slowly. They reveal selectively. They speak only when speaking changes the direction of the room. That's not an accident. That's discipline. It's not about ego. It's about strategy. When you're unpredictable, people prepare more carefully before approaching you. They measure their words. They think before they confront. They respect the silence before the sound. That's the key. The danger of emotional accessibility. Most people give others too much access. Access to their moods, access to their reactions, access to their insecurities, access to their emotional state at any given moment. You broadcast everything you feel, and you think that makes you transparent. It doesn't. It makes you easy. When people can read your emotions instantly, they know exactly what strings to pull. They know how to guilt you. They know how to motivate you. They know how to destabilize you. Why? Because you trained them that way. You trained them with predictability. You trained them by reacting. You trained them by speaking too quickly and too emotionally. But you have a choice. Silence takes back that access. Silence closes that door. Silence brings your emotional life back under your own command. When they cannot predict you, they cannot control you. The rule of strategic silence: say less, reveal less. Here are the practical behaviors you must adopt today. 1. Never reveal your first reaction. Your first reaction is emotional. Your first reaction is predictable. Your first reaction is the one people already expect. Delay it, mute it, observe it. Don't let it escape. 2. Stop narrating your life to people. You don't need to explain your goals. You don't need to reveal your plans. You don't need to justify your path. You don't need their permission. 3. Remove the habit of nervous filling. Most people speak because silence feels awkward, but awkwardness is power for you. Let others rush to fill the air. Let others show their cards first. 4. Keep your emotional shifts private. Feel anger quietly. Feel excitement quietly. Feel disappointment quietly. Feel curiosity quietly. Emotion is fuel, but when exposed, it becomes leverage for others. 5. Respond with measured words. A short, precise sentence holds more power than a long explanation. Noted. Understood. I'll think on that. We'll see. These keep you unpredictable. These keep you unreadable. These keep you in control. That's discipline. The power shift silence creates. Silence creates 3 psychological effects in others. 1. They become cautious. Caution turns into respect. 2. They become curious. Curiosity turns into attention. 3. They become uneasy. Unease turns into obedience. People behave better when they're unsure of your next move. People communicate more carefully when they're unsure of your reaction. People approach you more thoughtfully when you're not predictable. When they cannot predict you, they cannot control you. Unpredictability does not mean chaos. Let's make one thing clear. Unpredictable doesn't mean erratic. Unpredictable doesn't mean impulsive. Unpredictable doesn't mean unstable. That's a flaw. This is discipline. Unpredictable means this: they don't know what you're thinking. They don't know what you'll say. They don't know how you'll decide. They don't know how you'll react. They only know one thing: you will not be controlled. That's the key. The transformation you're seeking. When you master silence, you become a presence. Not a noise, not a reaction, a presence. Silence reshapes your identity in the eyes of others. You stop being an open book. You stop being predictable. You stop being manipulable. You become someone they must approach with intention. You become someone they must speak to with respect. You become unpredictable, and unpredictability is power. You have a choice, and silence is the choice that elevates you.
Your peace is not a luxury. Your peace is not a reward. Your peace is not something you find when life is gentle. Your peace is your leverage. Your peace is your power. Your peace is the ground you stand on when everything else shakes. And most people treat their peace like it's optional, like it's negotiable, like anyone with a bad mood, a loud opinion, or a guilt-loaded sentence can walk in and take it. But you have a choice. You can hand your peace away to whoever demands it, or you can guard it like warriors guard their shields. That's the key. Why peace is power. People think power comes from force, from dominance, from aggression. But real power, deep power, comes from internal stability, internal calm, internal command. When your inner world is stable, your outer world becomes negotiable. You become harder to provoke, harder to manipulate, harder to mislead. Because a calm mind sees clearly. A chaotic mind reacts blindly. And you already know this truth. Most of the mistakes you've made didn't come from weakness. They came from noise. Noise in your head, noise in your emotions, noise in your environment. It's not about being overwhelmed. It's about lacking discipline. That's the key. You have a choice. Peace is something you protect deliberately, because without it, you lose clarity, confidence, and control. People respect what you protect. When you protect your peace, people behave differently around you. They speak differently. They approach differently. They think twice before invading your space. Because boundaries teach people how to treat you. And you teach people every day through what you tolerate. If you tolerate constant interruptions, they'll keep interrupting. If you tolerate emotional dumping, they'll keep dumping. If you tolerate disrespect, they'll keep disrespecting. If you tolerate loud chaos around you, they'll assume chaos is welcome. You have a choice. And when you finally say no, firmly, consistently, people adjust. Not because they suddenly care about your peace, but because they understand that you care about your peace. People respect what you protect. People value what you guard. People respond to what you enforce. Guard your peace the way warriors guard their shields. The price of handing your peace away. Let's talk about the cost. Because there is always a cost. Every time you let someone drain you emotionally, you lose energy. Every time you let someone argue you into exhaustion, you lose clarity. Every time you let someone pull you into their chaos, you lose direction. You reduce your ability to think. You reduce your capacity to move decisively. You reduce your strength to act with purpose. Chaos creates confusion. Confusion creates weakness. Weakness creates mistakes. That's the cycle you've lived in for years. And the worst part?
You may not even realize how much your life has been shaped by interruptions, distractions, and emotional disturbances. But you have a choice. Peace is not something you ask for politely. Peace is something you protect relentlessly. Real-world examples. How high-level people protect peace. Look at anyone operating at a high level. CEOs, athletes, negotiators, strategists, elite performers. Do you know what they share? A ruthless commitment to guarding their mental space. They schedule silence. They limit access. They control their environment. They filter what gets to reach them. They don't let every message in. They don't let every crisis in. They don't let every person in. Because they know one truth. Your mind is the control center of your life, and control centers must be protected. You don't need their permission to protect your peace. You only need discipline. The practical behavior shift you must make. Here's where transformation begins. Specific, actionable behaviors. 1. Reduce access. Not everyone gets access to you. Not everyone earns your time. Not everyone deserves your energy. Every person is either adding peace or stealing it. There is no in-between. You have a choice. 2. Pause before responding. Immediate reactions destroy peace. Delayed responses restore it. Create space before replying. Create space before deciding. Create space before absorbing other people's emotions. That space is your peace. 3. Audit your environment. Some spaces are too loud for your growth. Some rooms are too chaotic for your clarity. Some people are too draining for your stability. Your peace depends on what you allow around you. 4. Don't absorb other people's storms. You are not responsible for fixing every meltdown. You are not responsible for carrying every crisis. You are not responsible for healing every broken person that crosses your path. It's not about being cold. It's about discipline. Their storm is not your home. 5. Create sacred routines that center you. Morning silence, evening reflection, focused work blocks, intentional solitude. Rituals restore power. Rituals rebuild clarity. Rituals reinforce discipline. Guard your peace the way warriors guard their shields. The internal shift that occurs when you protect your peace. When you guard your peace, your identity changes. You stop being reactive. You stop being easily provoked. You stop being available for emotional games. You become grounded. You become solid. You become centered. And grounded people make better decisions. Grounded people speak with weight. Grounded people earn respect effortlessly. Peace makes you powerful. Peace makes you intimidating. Peace makes you impossible to manipulate. Because the person who controls their inner world cannot be controlled by the outer world. That's the key. The fear of disappointing others is your trap. One of the biggest reasons people hand away their peace is this. You don't want to disappoint anyone. You don't want to seem rude. You don't want to appear distant. But hear this clearly. Every time you protect someone else's comfort at the cost of your peace, you shrink. Every time you sacrifice your time to please someone, you lose power. Every time you ignore your boundaries to avoid conflict, you weaken your identity. You have a choice. Choose your peace. Because the people who guilt you, the people who demand constant attention, the people who drain you emotionally, they don't lose sleep over disturbing your peace. So why are you losing yours trying to protect theirs? Guard your peace the way warriors guard their shields. The reward. A level of control you haven't felt in years. Once you begin protecting your peace, life changes. You think sharper. You speak with more authority. You move with more intention. You command more respect. Your energy becomes clean. Your decisions become stronger. Your presence becomes heavier. You stop being a reaction. You become a force. That's the transformation silence creates. That's the strength boundaries build. That's the power peace unlocks. And remember, your peace isn't just comfort. Your peace is leverage.
There is a truth you learn late in life, but it changes everything once it sinks in. Not every battle deserves your energy. Not every disagreement is a war. Not every challenge is a threat. Sometimes the strongest person in the room is the one who refuses to engage. Sometimes the most powerful move is silence. And sometimes the greatest victory is walking away. You have a choice, and that's the key. Most people drain their power because they fight everything, every comment, every insult, every opinion, every misunderstanding. They react to everything, and then they wonder why they're tired, stressed, and emotionally bankrupt. It's not about being right. It's about discipline. It's not about proving a point. It's about protecting your mission. It's not about ego. It's about direction. The moment you understand this, your life gets lighter. Your decisions get sharper. Your peace becomes stronger. Because here's the truth. Your peace is your leverage, but your battles can become your burden. You don't need their permission to disengage. You don't need their approval to stay silent. You don't need their validation to choose the higher road. You have a choice every single day about what you fight, what you ignore, and what you walk away from. Sorting real threats from distractions. This is where discipline comes in. You must learn to distinguish noise from danger. You must learn to identify what threatens your mission and what merely bruises your ego. If it costs your peace, let it go. If it threatens your mission, handle it. That's the rule. Let's look at real-life examples because most people lose themselves in the small battles. 1. Online arguments. You scroll, you see a stupid comment, your blood rises, your fingers itch. You want to correct, to teach, to defend yourself. But stop. Ask yourself, does this matter? Does this change my life? Does this move me closer to my goals? The answer is almost always no. You're about to fight a battle that produces nothing. You're about to pour energy into a person who doesn't care. You're about to step into a war that isn't even real. You have a choice, and that's the key. 2. Petty family disputes. Someone said something, someone made a comment, someone didn't include you, someone overstepped. You feel the urge to react, to argue, to set things straight. But stop. Is this a threat to your well-being, or is it just noise? Is this about your mission or your pride? You're not responsible for managing everyone's emotions. You're not the referee of family drama. You're not obligated to attend every argument you're invited to. If it costs your peace, let it go. 3. Workplace ego clashes. Someone talks over you. Someone takes credit.
Someone tries to make things personal. You feel the heat, you want to push back, but again, pause. Is the goal to win the argument or to win the war? Is the goal to prove something or to move forward? Fighting the wrong battles destroys momentum. Fighting every battle destroys you. Stop bleeding energy into meaningless conflict. People lose days, months, years fighting battles that don't matter. They argue with people they don't respect. They try to change minds that aren't worth changing. They give attention to negativity that deserves none. This is emotional poverty. This is mental bankruptcy. This is energy mismanagement. And it's a choice. Remember that. It's a choice. You don't need their permission to disengage. You don't need their understanding to protect your energy. You don't need their applause to walk away. The discipline is simple. Don't fight battles that don't advance your mission. You're not avoiding conflict. You're avoiding waste. You're not being passive. You're being strategic. You're not weak for walking away. You're wise. If it costs your peace, let it go. If it threatens your mission, handle it. How to master this discipline in real life? Let's turn this into action. Transformation requires behavior change, not inspiration alone. 1. Create a 5-second pause before responding. This is where emotional muscle is built. Before reacting, pause. Ask, is this worth the energy? If the answer is no, walk away. Block. Delete. Ignore. You have a choice. And that's the key. 2. Separate ego pain from real danger. Most conflicts don't threaten your life or your mission. They only threaten your pride. And pride is not a compass. Pride is a trap. If your pride is hurt, breathe. If your mission is threatened, act. That's the key. 3. Walk away more often. Peace grows in silence. Strength grows in restraint. Respect grows in composure. People watch how you handle conflict. They watch what gets your energy. They watch what triggers you and what doesn't. Every time you walk away from nonsense, you rise. Every time you refuse to engage with chaos, you elevate. Every time you choose peace over ego, you win. 4. Only fight when the outcome matters. Your mission is what matters. Your future is what matters. Your growth is what matters. Your character is what matters. Small battles distract you from big goals. Choose the goals. The psychology of power. Controlled engagement. Power is not proven by fighting. Power is proven by choosing when not to fight. The person who reacts to everything is controlled. The person who chooses their battles is unstoppable. You have a choice. You always have a choice. The world will throw distractions at you. People will pull you into drama. Life will test your patience, your pride, and your emotional discipline. But never forget, if it costs your peace, let it go. If it threatens your mission, handle it. That's the formula. That's the discipline. That's the path. And when you master this, something incredible happens. Your mind becomes quieter. Your goals become clearer. Your relationships become healthier. Your confidence becomes unshakable. Because now you decide where your energy goes. You decide what matters. You decide what gets your attention. You don't need their permission. You only need your discipline.
And once that truth sinks in, your life changes. Your confidence changes. Your presence changes. Your authority changes.
Why? Because explanation dilutes power. Explanation weakens certainty. Explanation shifts the energy from "I decided" to "please agree with me." You have a choice, and that's the T. You can live your life seeking permission, or you can live your life standing firm. You can beg for understanding, or you can move with clarity. You can justify your decisions, or you can embody them. It's not about pleasing people. It's about discipline. It's about standing on your own 2 feet. It's about owning your direction without narrating every step. Say it once. Mean it fully. The more you explain, the weaker you sound. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The more you justify yourself, the more uncertain you appear. People don't just listen to your words, they feel your conviction. They read your tone. They sense your self-doubt. When you ramble, when you justify, when you soften every decision with paragraphs of explanation, you signal something. I'm unsure. I need your approval. I need your validation. And that's exactly why your authority slips. That's exactly why people push your boundaries. That's exactly why you struggle to command respect. You don't need their permission. You need your discipline. Leaders don't justify every move. Leaders don't explain every decision. Leaders don't dilute their words with endless detail. Leaders know this: clarity is power. Finality is power. Silence is power. Say it once. Mean it fully. Why you over-explain? You don't do it because you're weak. You do it because you were trained to be agreeable. You do it because you fear disappointing people. You do it because you want to avoid conflict. You do it because you want to be understood. But here's the truth you've avoided. People who want to misunderstand you will misunderstand you no matter how many paragraphs you speak. People who respect you won't require a long explanation in the first place. People who love you don't need the speech. And people who hate your decisions won't change their minds because of your reasoning. You have a choice. Keep exhausting yourself trying to explain your life to people who don't live it, or step into your authority. That's the key. When you stop explaining, everything changes. Your aura shifts. Your boundaries solidify. Your decisions become cleaner. Your confidence grows naturally. Why? Because every unnecessary explanation gives away power. You're leaking energy. You're leaking certainty. You're leaking direction. When you stop explaining, you stop leaking. You conserve strength. You conserve presence. You conserve peace. And ironically, this is the best part. People take you more seriously. People listen differently. People respect your words because they feel the weight behind them. Say it once. Mean it fully. Real-life scenarios where you must practice this discipline. Let's get practical. Here's where you stop explaining. 1. Decisions about your life. Where you go, what you pursue, who you choose, what you walk away from. These choices belong to you, not to public opinion, not to family councils, not to social approval. You have a choice, and that's the key. 2. Decisions about your boundaries. No, I can't come. No, I won't do that. No, that doesn't work for me. Period. No essay attached. No because. No emotional justification. It's not about rudeness. It's about discipline. 3. Decisions about your mission. Your goals, your projects, your ambitions, your silence. You don't need to explain your grind. You don't need to justify your dream. You don't need to convince anyone why you want more. Say it once. Mean it fully. How to break the habit of over-explaining. Now let's turn this into transformation. Here's what you must do. 1. Replace explanations with statements. Not, I can't come because I'm tired and I had a long week. Instead, I won't be able to make it. Not, I'm not taking that opportunity because I just feel like it's not the right fit and I'm trying to focus on other things. Instead, I'm choosing a different direction. Short, sharp, final. 2. Practice saying less. Count your words. Trim your sentences. Speak with precision. Because here's the truth. People don't remember long answers. They remember conviction. 3. Don't respond to every question. Not everything deserves an answer. Not every concern deserves your energy. You have a choice. Choose silence more often. 4. Let your decisions stand on their own. Don't follow up. Don't soften the blow. Don't check how they feel. You made your choice. Stand on it. That's the discipline. The psychology behind this power. People respect strength. People respect clarity. People respect finality. But here's the deeper layer. When you stop explaining yourself, you start trusting yourself. You stop needing approval. You stop needing agreement. You stop needing validation. Internal validation replaces external validation. Self-trust replaces self-doubt. Silence replaces insecurity. In a world full of noise, clarity becomes a weapon. In a world full of confusion, certainty becomes currency. In a world full of talkers, the quiet one stands out. Say it once. Mean it fully.
There is a kind of power most people never learn. A power so simple, so quiet, so subtle, that they underestimate it their entire lives. It's the power of shutting your mouth. The power of restraint. The power of holding the space instead of filling it. Because when you stop talking, something interesting happens. People start revealing themselves. Your silence is their mirror. Say that again. Your silence is their mirror. You don't have to push. You don't have to probe. You don't have to chase answers. Just sit, just breathe, just hold the space. And watch how quickly people expose their intentions, their insecurities, their truth. You have a choice, and that's the key. The psychology behind why silence works. Humans hate empty space. They rush to fill it. They feel the discomfort. They feel the pressure. You don't even need to speak. Your stillness is enough. In psychology, this is called the silence pressure effect. The moment you shut your mouth, the other person feels the urge to continue. They keep talking. They add details. They reveal motives.
Your silence is their mirror. It shows them who they really are. It shows them what they really want. It shows them what they're really hiding. And this is where your discipline becomes power. Because most people speak too quickly. Most people seek to explain. Most people rush to fill the silence with nervous words. But not you. Not anymore. You have a choice. Stay quiet. Stay composed. Stay solid. That's the key. Interrogation rooms, the masterclass of silence. Interrogators understand this principle better than anyone. They don't always force answers, they don't always shout, they don't always threaten. Sometimes they just sit back, fold their arms, lean into the silence. Seconds feel like minutes. Minutes feel like hours. Pressure builds. And then, the suspect starts talking. They confess details the interrogator never asked for. Why? Because silence creates psychological heat. Your silence is their mirror. When you stop talking, you stop guiding them. You stop giving them clues. You stop giving them emotional cues. And suddenly, they reveal themselves. They uncover things you never would have found by speaking. This isn't manipulation. This is awareness. This is strategy. This is discipline. It's not about aggression. It's about restraint. Sales negotiations. Silence wins deals. Top negotiators know this rule. The first person to speak after a critical moment loses the leverage. They deliver their price, then they shut up. Completely. And the other side panics. They start justifying. They start rethinking. They start talking themselves into the deal. Because silence makes them uncomfortable. Silence makes them reveal budget. Silence makes them expose priorities. Silence makes them negotiate against themselves. Your silence is their mirror. You don't have to dominate with words. You dominate with patience. You dominate with presence. You dominate with control. You have a choice. Rush and weaken your position, or pause and strengthen it. That's the key. Conversations with manipulative people. This is where silence becomes a weapon of protection. Manipulators depend on one thing: your emotional reactivity. They need you to interrupt. They need you to defend. They need you to explain. They need you to get flustered. Because once you react, they take control. Once you react, they steer the conversation. Once you react, they twist your words. Silence breaks their script. Silence throws them off balance. Silence removes their leverage. You don't need their permission. You don't need to answer their loaded questions. You don't need to justify yourself in their traps. You have a choice: engage with their chaos, or let your silence expose them. Your silence is their mirror. Watch how quickly manipulators reveal their insecurity. Watch how quickly they reveal their motives. Watch how quickly they reveal their frustration when they can't control you. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is discipline. What happens internally when you stay silent? When you refuse to rush, you send yourself a message: I control me. You regain your emotional stability. You regain your clarity. You regain your confidence. Silence resets your power. Silence sharpens your perception. Silence gives your mind space to discern what's really happening. Most people respond emotionally. You respond strategically. Because you're not reacting. You're analyzing. You're studying. You're seeing the truth behind the words. Silence gives you insight. Silence gives you leverage. Silence gives you control. Your silence is their mirror. How to practice this discipline in daily life? Let's turn this into action. Number 1, don't interrupt. Ever. Let people talk. Let them ramble. Let them reveal themselves. Your restraint is your advantage. Number 2, embrace pauses in conversations. Don't rush to fill them. Don't rush to comfort others. Let the silence breathe. You have a choice to speak, but wait. That's the key. Number 3, ask one question, then stop talking. Just observe. Watch the reaction. Watch the story unfold. Silence leads people to over-explain. Number 4, use silence when you feel attacked. No defending, no explaining, no emotional responding. Just breathe and stay quiet. You'll watch the aggressor unravel. Number 5, don't reveal everything at once. Silence builds mystique. Mystique builds power. Power builds respect. Your silence is their mirror.
There is a hidden enemy in life. It doesn't wear a uniform. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't attack openly. But make no mistake, this enemy exists. They are the people who steal your clarity. They are the people who drain your focus. They are the people who rob your peace. They thrive on drama. They thrive on urgency. They thrive on your reaction. And the worst part? They often appear as friends, colleagues, family, or mentors. They lure you in. They hook you. They pull you into chaos. You have a choice, and that's the key. You can either allow them to hijack your energy, or you can protect it fiercely. You can either play their game, or you can operate on your terms. You can either react to their chaos, or you can hold your discipline and win the war silently. Not every invitation deserves your presence. Say it again. Not every invitation deserves your presence. The anatomy of an emotional thief. Emotional thieves are easy to spot once you know the patterns. Drama magnets. They exaggerate, they escalate, they create urgency. A simple issue becomes a crisis in their hands. They demand attention, and they feed off your reaction. Energy leeches. They complain constantly. They seek validation. They require emotional labor from you. Every conversation leaves you tired. Every interaction leaves you depleted. Manipulative actors. They trigger guilt. They guilt you into engagement. They appeal to your empathy, your responsibility, your sense of duty. And the moment you react, they win. Not every invitation deserves your presence. Not every problem deserves your attention. Not every drama deserves your engagement. Your silence blocks their hooks. Your boundaries maintain your strength. Your discipline protects your mission. Why silence works against emotional thieves. The power of silence is often underestimated. When you refuse to react immediately, you regain control. When you refuse to validate their urgency, you reclaim your energy. When you refuse to chase their drama, you reinforce your boundaries. Silence is not passive. Silence is active defense. Silence is strategy. Think about it. Emotional thieves feed on noise. They feed on your reaction. They feed on the energy you give them. When you stop providing it, you starve them. When you stop reacting, you disrupt their rhythm.
When you hold your presence, you reclaim your power. You have a choice, and that's the key. Real-life examples of energy protection. Let's be concrete. This is how emotional thieves appear in daily life. The overbearing colleague. They email at 11 p.m. They call with panic. They demand instant solutions. Do you respond immediately? No. Pause. Assess. Decide if this actually requires your attention or if it's noise disguised as urgency. Your silence is your shield. Your boundaries are your armor. Not every crisis is yours to solve. The family drama. They escalate minor issues into arguments. They call you to mediate constantly. They thrive on the energy you invest. Not every invitation deserves your presence. Not every fight requires your voice. Not every conflict requires your engagement. Walk away. Step back. Protect your clarity. Protect your peace. Social energy vampires. People who complain endlessly on social media. People who send messages that demand attention. People who pull you into comparisons, debates, and emotional turmoil. Mute, unfollow, stop responding. Silence neutralizes their influence. Energy protection is discipline in action. Techniques to protect your energy. You must treat your energy like a valuable asset, because it is. 1. Create boundaries. Decide what is acceptable and what is not. Decide when you will engage and when you won't. Decide how much attention, time, and emotional bandwidth you will allocate. 2. Pause before responding. Even in urgent situations, pause. Even when guilt is triggered, pause. Even when drama calls your name, pause. This is the 10-second, 10-minute, 10-hour principle applied to energy protection. Delay is your weapon. Silence is your shield. Not every invitation deserves your presence. 3. Evaluate the mission, not the noise. Ask, does this serve my goals? Does this help my mission? Does this strengthen my purpose? If yes, engage strategically. If no, walk away. Not every invitation deserves your presence. 4. Limit exposure to habitual energy thieves. Physical distance, digital distance, mental distance. Protect your time, protect your attention, protect your emotional reserves. The discipline of selective engagement. It's not about avoidance. It's about prioritization. It's not about weakness. It's about strategy. You don't react to every pull. You don't absorb every wave. You don't surrender your mission to someone else's chaos. You have a choice, and that's the key. The long-term benefits of energy protection. When you protect your energy, your decisions become sharper. Your focus deepens. Your resilience grows. Your peace becomes unshakable. Emotional thieves lose influence over you. Drama loses power over you. Chaos loses control over you. You create an inner fortress. You create clarity. You create strength. Not every invitation deserves your presence. Not every comment deserves your response. Not every crisis deserves your engagement. You have a choice. Choose discipline. Choose silence. Choose protection.
There is a secret almost no one understands about power. It is not about speed. It is not about noise. It is not about showing everyone you are busy, capable, or desperate to act. The strongest people move slow, calculated, intentional. Patience is a power play. It is not passive.
It is not waiting idly. It is preparation. Do not rush. Do not react. Do not fold. You have a choice, and that's the key. You can sprint and stumble, or you can move deliberately and dominate. You can react emotionally and weaken your position, or you can wait, observe, and strike with certainty. Patience is not weakness. Patience is a weapon. Patience is strategy. The discipline of waiting. Most people confuse patience with passivity. They think patience is doing nothing. They think patience is giving up. They are wrong. Patience is active. Patience is conscious. Patience is deliberate focus while the world moves recklessly. Look at elite performers, CEOs, and generals. They do not rush. They plan meticulously. They calculate every move, and when they act, their action carries the weight of thought, experience, and strategy. That's the difference. That's the power. That's what separates reactionary people from masters of influence. Do not rush. Do not react. Do not fold. Why most people fail? Because they impatience. Impatience is the silent killer of results. People jump too quickly into decisions. They respond emotionally. They overcommit. They overpromise. And what happens? They burn energy. They lose leverage. They expose weakness. The impatient fight battles they don't need. They invest in conflicts they can't control. They reveal their hand before they even know the stakes. It's not about rushing. It's about timing. It's not about eagerness. It's about discipline. You have a choice, and that's the key. You can sprint and stumble, or you can move deliberately and dominate. Patience creates opportunity. When you wait, you see what others miss. When you pause, you gain information others ignore. When you resist the urge to act, the world shows its hand. Opportunities are everywhere, but only the patient recognize them. Only the patient can act decisively at the right moment. Only the patient can convert timing into power. The strongest leaders understand this. Patience is not delay. It is advantage. Patience is not hesitation. It is strength. Patience is not weakness. It is preparation. Do not rush. Do not react. Do not fold. Real-world examples. Negotiation. Top negotiators don't accept the first offer. They pause. They consider. They wait for more information. The counterpart grows impatient. They reveal their limits. They overcommit. Patience turns their urgency into your leverage. Your silence is your weapon. Your patience is your edge. You have a choice, and that's the key. Investing. Successful investors wait years for the right opportunity. They don't chase trends. They don't react to panic. They wait, study, and strike decisively. Impatient investors buy at highs. They sell at lows. They lose more than they gain. Do not rush. Do not react. Do not fold. Relationships. Patience changes interpersonal power dynamics. Rushing to respond, rushing to please, rushing to explain, these weaken your position. Waiting cultivates respect. Waiting lets the other person reveal their intentions. Waiting preserves your energy and dignity. Your discipline commands presence. Your patience commands respect. You don't need their permission. You only need your discipline. How to cultivate patience. Patience is not natural.
It is trained. It is practiced. It is internalized. 1. Pause before responding. In every conversation, decision, or conflict, pause. Take a breath. Assess. Decide intentionally. This is where patience becomes practice. 2. Reframe waiting as preparation. Waiting is not wasting time. Waiting is gathering intelligence. Waiting is refining strategy. Waiting is building power. 3. Set long-term goals, not immediate gratification. Most impatience comes from seeking instant results. Think decades, not days. Plan years, not hours. Your power compounds with time. 4. Observe patterns, not emotions. Patience requires detachment. Notice trends, signals, and intentions. Do not let fleeting feelings dictate your action. Discipline your mind. Control your timing. The hidden advantage of patience. Patience gives you clarity. Patience gives you leverage. Patience gives you authority. People who act impulsively are predictable. People who act hastily reveal their weaknesses. People who react emotionally are exposed. But the patient move in silence. They act when the odds are overwhelmingly in their favor. They dominate without appearing desperate. They win without friction. Do not rush. Do not react. Do not fold. Daily practices for power patience. Micropauses. Every decision gets a 10-second mental pause. Observation. Let people speak first. Listen. Study. Note their motives. Controlled breathing. Physical stillness breeds mental patience. Delayed response. If something triggers you emotionally, wait, then respond strategically. Reflection. End each day reviewing moments you could have acted impulsively and how you held yourself. These habits turn patience into power. These habits transform restraint into influence. These habits convert silence into authority.
There is a power in silence most people never understand. A quiet that commands attention. A pause that demands respect. A restraint that amplifies influence. The strongest communicators don't speak to fill space. They speak to make an impact. They speak intentionally. They speak minimally. Fewer words, greater impact. You have a choice, and that's the key. You can chatter endlessly, you can react impulsively, you can dilute your authority with noise, or you can choose restraint. You can choose precision. You can choose words that land like hammers and cut like knives. Fewer words, greater impact. The science of silence in communication. Every word you speak carries energy. Every phrase shapes perception. Every reaction leaves a footprint. When you speak too much, you water down your message. You expose weaknesses. You give away your power. Silence acts like a lens. It focuses your meaning. It enhances your authority. It makes your presence undeniable. The listener leans in. They listen closely. They respect your restraint. Fewer words, greater impact. You don't need their permission to command attention. You only need your discipline. Why the best leaders speak less. Leaders who speak constantly are noisy but not influential. Leaders who speak strategically are rare but unforgettable. Consider CEOs, generals, and public figures who are known for saying little.
Every word is deliberate. Every pause is meaningful. Every statement carries weight. They don't explain unnecessarily. They don't justify constantly. They don't fill silence with fluff. Silence amplifies their message. Silence makes their voice matter. Silence transforms ordinary words into authority. Fewer words, greater impact. It's not about speaking. It's about speaking well. It's not about being loud. It's about being effective. You have a choice, and that's the key. How silence shapes influence. Silence creates anticipation. Silence creates tension. Silence creates respect. When you pause before responding, people wonder what you're thinking. People pay attention to every nuance. People value your contribution more. Silence allows you to control the pace of conversations. Silence lets you dictate when attention falls. Silence gives you the upper hand in negotiation, conflict, and leadership. Fewer words, greater impact. It's not about fear. It's about mastery. It's not about avoidance. It's about discipline. Real-world examples of silence in action. Negotiations. Negotiators who speak last almost always win. They listen. They analyze. They let the other side reveal their position. The person talking first exposes priorities, weaknesses, and urgency. The silent negotiator waits. They interject only when it maximizes leverage. Every word is calculated. Fewer words, greater impact. Public speaking. Speakers who rush through words lose the audience. Speakers who pause, measure, and enunciate command respect. A single, well-placed phrase can ignite an entire room. Silence before the punchline, pause before the call to action. It builds authority. It reinforces meaning. It transforms ordinary speech into unforgettable messages. Fewer words, greater impact. Everyday communication, at work, home, or social situations, resist the urge to over-explain. Resist the need to justify. Resist filling the void with noise. Pause. Observe. Speak only when it amplifies your position or conveys essential truth. Fewer words, greater impact. Practical steps to harness silence. Pause before you speak. Take a breath. Think deliberately. Assess the necessity of your words. Do not react immediately. Do not chase validation. Speak with intention. Every sentence must have purpose. Every phrase must serve the message. If it doesn't, don't speak it. Stop explaining yourself constantly. Explanations often dilute authority. Just state the fact, decision, or position. Silence will reinforce it more than words ever could. Use silence as a strategic tool. Pause after asking a question. Pause after delivering news. Pause before making a decision public. This amplifies perception of control and confidence. Practice listening. Silence is not only about speaking less, it's about listening more. The quieter you are, the more you understand. The more you understand, the more you respond effectively. Fewer words, greater impact. The emotional effect of silence. Silence also shapes emotion. It allows others to digest your message. It triggers curiosity. It commands attention. People respect those who do not beg to be heard. They follow those who speak with precision. They trust those who choose words deliberately. Your restraint communicates control. Your pause communicates authority. Your discipline communicates mastery. You have a choice, and that's the key. The final transformation. The journey of silence is the journey of mastery. From holding your tongue in minor interactions, to controlling energy, to cultivating patience, to speaking inly when your words matter, every step builds power. Every pause strengthens influence. Every silence sharpens authority. Fewer words, greater impact. It's not about being quiet to hide. It's about being quiet to amplify. It's not about avoidance. It's about discipline. It's not about weakness. It's about strategic strength. Your words now carry weight. Your presence commands attention. Your silence is your weapon. You have a choice. You can speak to be heard, or you can speak to dominate. You can talk endlessly and fade into noise, or you can harness silence and make every word count. Fewer words, greater impact. Remember that. Practice that. Master that. You have held the silence. You have protected your energy. You have moved with patience. Now, every word you speak is a tool of power. This is mastery. This is discipline. This is the ultimate secret of influence.
There is a power that most people never understand. It is not in confrontation. It is not in shouting. It is not in proving a point. The real power is in walking away, in silence, in restraint. When you walk away, you take control. When you walk away, you neutralize chaos. When you walk away, you preserve your energy, your focus, and your dignity. You have a choice, and that's the key. You can engage in every argument. You can fight every battle. You can exhaust yourself on people who thrive on your reaction. Or you can step back. You can withdraw strategically. You can watch as the chaos collapses without your participation. When you walk away, everything behind you loses power. Say it again. When you walk away, everything behind you loses power. The discipline of walking away. Walking away is not surrender. It is not weakness. It is not avoidance. Walking away is strategy. Walking away is preparation. Walking away is a demonstration of self-control. It signals to others, I am not your puppet. I am not at your mercy. I am in control of my energy, my time, and my decisions. You have a choice, and that's the key. Why most people fail to walk away. Most people stay. They argue. They explain. They exhaust themselves. Why? Because they fear being misunderstood. Because they crave validation. Because they confuse presence with power. This is a mistake. Your value is not determined by how much chaos you absorb. Your authority is not measured by how loud your voice is. Your strength is not proven by how many battles you fight. It's about discipline. It's about strategy. It's about knowing when to engage and when to step back.
When you walk away, everything behind you loses power. That is your advantage. That is your edge. Real-world examples of strategic withdrawal. 1. Breakups and toxic relationships. Some people drain your energy relentlessly. They demand attention. They manipulate emotions. They create conflict for entertainment. Walking away is not cruel. Walking away is self-preservation. Walking away removes their influence over you. Your silence is your shield. Your absence is your statement. Everything they leave behind loses its control. 2. Business disputes. Negotiations can become traps. Partners, clients, or competitors may push, provoke, or pressure you unnecessarily. Reacting hastily compromises your position. Instead, step back. Pause. Withdraw strategically. When you walk away, leverage shifts in your favor. They chase you. They expose themselves. They make mistakes. 3. Toxic friendships and social energy drains. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Some friendships are subtle mines of manipulation. Some people take without giving. Walking away is an act of discipline. Walking away is an assertion of boundaries. Walking away is a demonstration of self-respect. How walking away neutralizes chaos. Chaos thrives on participation. Drama survives because you feed it with attention. Conflict exists only when you are present. Remove yourself. Step back. Withdraw your energy. The argument collapses. The tension dissipates. The manipulator loses leverage. You have a choice, and that's the key. When you walk away, you transform your environment. When you walk away, you dictate outcomes without a single word. When you walk away, you demonstrate control, authority, and composure. Fewer actions, greater results. This is strategy in its purest form. Steps to master the art of walking away. 1. Identify the battles that don't serve you. Not every fight is worth your time. Not every drama requires your attention. Ask yourself, does this matter in my mission? Does this strengthen my purpose? If the answer is no, step back. 2. Pause before reacting. When triggered, resist immediate response. Take a breath. Assess the situation objectively. Decide whether engagement or withdrawal serves your long-term goal. 3. Practice silent withdrawal. Walking away doesn't always require explanation. Sometimes leaving quietly is more powerful than a speech. Your absence communicates more than your words ever could. 4. Protect your energy relentlessly. Your focus, clarity, and composure are assets. Guard them fiercely. Not every person or situation deserves your presence. Walking away is one of the most effective ways to do this. 5. Observe the effect. When you step back, watch the dynamics shift. Chaos loses momentum. Pressure dissipates. People reveal true intentions. Your strategic withdrawal creates clarity and control. The psychological advantage. Walking away is confusing to the untrained mind. People expect a reaction. They anticipate engagement. They assume conflict is inevitable. When you don't comply, they are disoriented. They lose their rhythm. They reveal vulnerabilities. Silence plus distance equals power. Distance protects your energy. Distance magnifies your influence. Distance converts restraint into authority. You have a choice, and that's the key. The emotional benefits of strategic withdrawal. Walking away frees your mind. Walking away preserves your emotional equilibrium. Walking away protects your peace. You reduce stress. You enhance focus. You cultivate patience. You gain leverage. Not every problem requires your intervention. Not every argument deserves your energy. Not every person needs your attention. When you walk away, you make all of this possible.
There is a trap most people fall into without even realizing it. A trap that drains energy. A trap that steals confidence. A trap that keeps them small. That trap is the need to prove yourself. To coworkers, to friends, to family, to strangers online. Stop. Just stop. You don't need their validation. You don't need their approval. You don't need their permission. You have a choice, and that's the key. Why proving yourself is a trap? When you prove yourself constantly, you react to others' opinions instead of your own standards. You become defined by their expectations, not your mission. You drain confidence by tying it to external judgment. It's exhausting. It's unnecessary. It's a trap. Proving yourself invites judgment. It invites criticism. It invites comparison. The moment you stop proving, you reclaim power. The moment you stop proving, you regain focus. The moment you stop proving, you begin to embody mastery. Less proving, more moving. The discipline of becoming. Becoming is different from proving. Proving is external. Becoming is internal. Proving seeks applause. Becoming seeks mastery. Proving is reactionary. Becoming is intentional. You don't prove you're strong by telling everyone. You become strong by showing it through action, consistency, and discipline. Silence shifts the focus. Silence moves energy from validation to embodiment. You have a choice, and that's the key. Less proving, more moving. Real-world examples. 1. Business leaders. Top CEOs don't broadcast every success. They don't justify decisions. They don't prove they're capable. They execute. They deliver results. They let performance speak for itself. Silence amplifies their authority. Action demonstrates competence. Embodiment commands respect. 2. Athletes and performers. Elite athletes don't argue over skill. They don't insist on recognition. They don't chase approval. They train, they perform, they dominate quietly. Their results speak louder than any claim ever could. 3. Personal relationships. Some people feel the need to explain every choice, to defend every decision, to prove loyalty, intelligence, or worth. This is exhausting. It is ineffective. Instead, embody your principles. Demonstrate your values through action. Let presence, consistency, and integrity do the work. Less proving, more moving. The psychology behind embodiment. Proving yourself creates dependency on others' perception. It's validation-based confidence. It's fragile. It collapses the moment someone disagrees. Becoming builds self-based confidence. It's anchored internally. It grows with discipline, practice, and results. It's unshakable. When you embody excellence silently, people notice without you forcing attention. Influence grows without chasing recognition. Respect is earned without argument. Less proving, more moving. Practical steps to stop proving and start becoming.
1. Limit explanations. Stop over-explaining decisions. Stop justifying actions. Your results and consistency communicate more than words ever could. 2. Focus on action. Ask yourself, does this action move me closer to mastery? If yes, do it. If no, ignore the distraction. 3. Remove the need for approval. Stop asking for permission to exist or succeed. Stop seeking applause for achievements. Your discipline is your validation. 4. Observe and reflect. Notice when you feel the urge to prove something. Identify the insecurity driving it. Replace it with action. Replace it with embodiment. 5. Practice strategic silence. Pause before responding to criticism. Pause before defending yourself. Pause before justifying. Silence reinforces confidence. Silence demonstrates mastery. Less proving, more moving. The emotional transformation. When you stop proving, anxiety decreases, energy increases, clarity emerges. You stop caring about imagined judgment. You stop reacting to irrelevant opinions. You stop engaging in petty contests. Instead, you channel energy into mastery, into results, into personal growth. Your presence becomes magnetic. Your authority becomes undeniable. Your silence speaks louder than any words ever could. You have a choice, and that's the key. Less proving, more moving. The long-term advantage. The world is filled with people who seek approval, who argue endlessly to justify themselves, who prove constantly and burn out. Be different. Be intentional. Be disciplined. Embodiment creates an unstoppable momentum. Consistency builds an unshakable reputation. Action earns influence silently, powerfully, permanently. You don't need to broadcast your strength. You don't need to justify your vision. You don't need anyone to validate your worth. You have a choice, and that's the key.
There is a truth almost nobody teaches. A truth ignored by most people. A truth that separates the strong from the weak. Most battles are illusions. Most conflicts are traps. Most fights only exist because you engage them. You can't lose a fight you don't enter. Say it again. You can't lose a fight you don't enter. This is the ultimate strategy, the pinnacle of restraint, the real power that comes from silence. You have a choice, and that's the key. Why engaging is losing. When you react, you surrender control to someone else's agenda. You expose vulnerabilities. You drain your energy on battles that are often irrelevant. Engaging in every argument is a trap. It is reactive. It is unnecessary. You lose focus, you lose clarity, you lose peace. When you don't engage, you preserve energy. You maintain composure. You gain leverage without confrontation. You win by opting out. Say it again. You win by opting out. The discipline of opting out. Not engaging is not passive. It is not weakness. It is not avoidance. Opting out is strategic. It is deliberate. It is mastery. When you choose silence, chaos loses momentum. Manipulators fail to provoke you. Emotional traps collapse. You are in control. You dictate outcomes without lifting a finger. You have a choice, and that's the key. You win by opting out. Real-world examples of avoiding unnecessary battles. 1. Workplace conflicts. Office drama is constant. People push agendas. Colleagues provoke reactions.
Reacting to every slight destroys focus. It drains your authority. It wastes time. Instead, observe silently. Choose your battles. Engage only when your action changes the outcome. You win by opting out. Your energy becomes your advantage. 2. Online arguments. Social media thrives on outrage. People comment to provoke, insult, or gain attention. Responding escalates tension. Ignore it. Scroll past it. Resist the urge to justify or defend. You preserve clarity. You maintain dignity. You win without saying a word. 3. Personal conflicts. Family disputes, toxic friendships, romantic quarrels, many are avoidable. The moment you react, you give them influence over your emotions. Walking away, holding silence, and refusing engagement diffuses power. You gain freedom. You gain perspective. You win by opting out. The psychological edge. Silence is more powerful than speech. Absence is more influential than presence. People expect reactions. They rely on engagement to validate their behavior. When you don't comply, they are thrown off balance. Your calm becomes your leverage. Your restraint becomes authority. Your silence communicates strength louder than any argument ever could. You have a choice, and that's the key. You win by opting out. The emotional benefits. Opting out protects your peace of mind, clarity of thought, emotional stability. Reacting, defending, or proving yourself drains all three. When you disengage from battles that don't serve you, stress diminishes, energy increases, focus sharpens. You are free to direct your effort toward things that matter. Your mission, your growth, your life. You win by opting out. Repeat it. You win by opting out. Practical steps to avoid unnecessary fights. 1. Assess before you react. Ask yourself, will engaging improve the outcome or escalate the problem? If it doesn't, step back. 2. Set boundaries. Silence is a tool. Distance is a weapon. Protect your energy rigorously. 3. Observe and listen. The more you watch quietly, the more you understand. Others reveal intentions and weaknesses when you don't react. 4. Respond only when strategic. Some battles are real. Some require your attention. Engage only when the outcome matters, when your action creates leverage. 5. Practice repetition. Every time you resist a needless fight, you strengthen discipline. Every moment you choose silence, you build mastery. You have a choice, and that's the key. You win by opting out. The long-term advantage. Most people exhaust themselves fighting imaginary wars. Most people live on the battlefield of opinion, drama, and emotional traps. You live differently. You live strategically. You choose battles that matter. Every unnecessary conflict avoided preserves energy. Every argument ignored strengthens authority. Every provocation unmet demonstrates mastery. You cannot lose a fight you never enter. You win by holding silence. You win by maintaining control. You win by choosing yourself over chaos. You have a choice, and that's the key. The final lesson is simple but profound. Silence is power. Restraint is strength. Choosing when to engage is mastery. Stop reacting. Stop proving. Stop chasing validation. Opt out of fights that do not serve you. Step away from drama. Hold your ground without engagement. When you do this consistently, you preserve energy, you maintain clarity, you achieve results without conflict. You win by opting out. Repeat it once more. You win by opting out. Now, you have learned the discipline of silence, restraint, and selective engagement. Everything you've mastered, walking away, patience, holding silence, protecting energy, embodying strength, leads to this ultimate truth. You cannot lose a fight you never enter. You win by choosing your battles wisely. You win by holding silence. You win by mastering the war that never needed to be fought.
The most dangerous battles aren't happening outside. They aren't on social media. They aren't in meetings. They aren't in arguments with family or friends. The war is internal. Your mind is your battlefield. Your thoughts are your opponents. Your words, spoken and unspoken, are your weapons and your weaknesses. Overthinking drains energy. Overtalking drains focus. Reacting emotionally drains power. Most people fight the wrong wars. They battle circumstances. They battle other people. They battle opinions. Meanwhile, their internal chaos rages unchecked. You have a choice, and that's the key. The internal battlefield. The mind never rests. Thoughts spin, arguments replay, doubts fester. You replay mistakes, you anticipate offense, you justify actions that don't even matter. This is the silent enemy. It's invisible but relentless. It drains more energy than any external conflict ever could. The first step to victory is recognizing this truth. The war is internal, not external. Silence as internal armor. Silence is not merely external. It is mental. It is emotional. It is spiritual. When you hold silence, thoughts slow. Clarity rises. Control strengthens. You don't react immediately. You don't get drawn into imagined problems. You observe first, assess second, and act only when necessary. You have a choice, and that's the key. Master the internal and the external folds. Repeat it. Master the internal and the external folds. The power of mental discipline. Mental discipline is the silent weapon of the strong. It prevents impulsive reactions. It turns energy into action rather than noise. It allows focus on what truly matters. Most people waste hours every day on reactive thinking, replaying insults, anticipating judgment, worrying about what others think. Stop it. It's unnecessary. It's destructive. Instead, train the mind like a soldier. Observe without judgment. Hold silence before reaction. Evaluate before engagement. You have a choice, and that's the key. Master the internal and the external folds. Overtalking versus internal mastery. Talking too much is a symptom of internal unrest. The need to explain, the need to justify, the need to prove. These are the mind's attempts to control uncertainty. They reveal insecurity. They invite manipulation. They scatter power. Silence is the antidote. Silence regulates energy. Silence restores authority. Silence cultivates internal peace. You don't need to justify. You don't need to defend. You don't need permission. You have a choice, and that's the key. Master the internal and the external folds. Practical steps to control the internal war. 1. Observe your thoughts. Notice the urge to react, defend, or explain. Label it. Do not feed it with words or action.
2. Pause before speaking. Every statement, every response, every defense should be deliberate. Pause. Think. Respond strategically. Create mental space. Silence is a buffer. Meditation, deep breathing, or simply quiet reflection can prevent the mind from running wild. Your energy becomes directed, not scattered. Practice repetition. Every moment you resist reaction, you reinforce discipline. Every time you hold silence, you strengthen control. Every internal victory compounds external advantage. You have a choice, and that's the key. Master the internal, and the external folds. Real-world examples. 1. Leaders in high-stress environments. CEOs, generals, and elite performers rarely react impulsively. They pause, they observe, they evaluate. Their silence is strategic. Their calm is contagious. Their mental discipline allows decisive, precise action. 2. Negotiators and diplomats. They never speak first unnecessarily. They absorb information. They wait for openings. They respond with maximum impact. The external battle is won only after the internal one is mastered. 3. Personal growth cases. Consider those who navigate toxic relationships silently. They do not feed chaos. They do not escalate conflict. They control themselves. They preserve energy. They act with clarity. The result? Respect, power, and emotional freedom. The transformation of silence. When you master the internal war, stress diminishes, decisions sharpen, influence multiplies. The mind becomes a tool, not a trap. Energy becomes your ally. Your presence becomes commanding without effort. You no longer react to every provocation. You no longer waste words on the unnecessary. You no longer allow emotional manipulation to dictate action. You have a choice, and that's the key. Master the internal and the external folds. The long-term advantage. Most people fight endless external battles while losing the war within. Most people exhaust themselves trying to control what is outside while ignoring what is inside. You are different. You focus on the internal battlefield first. You train your mind, silence your impulses, and hold strategic restraint. The external world bends to the internally disciplined. Clarity commands attention. Calmness commands respect. Mastery commands results. You win before you even engage. You have a choice, and that's the key. Master the internal and the external folds. Stop reacting mentally. Stop overthinking. Stop over-explaining. Focus inward. Hold silence. Strengthen discipline. When the internal war is won, external conflicts diminish. Emotional traps fail. Power flows naturally. Your words gain weight. Your actions gain clarity. Your presence gains authority.
Most people misunderstand boundaries. They believe boundaries are established by arguing. They think limits are defined by loud demands. They are wrong. The truth is this: silence enforces limits stronger than words ever could. Every time you try to defend a boundary verbally, you invite debate. Every explanation is a crack that weakens your authority. Every argument is an opportunity for others to test your resolve. You have a choice, and that's the key. Why silence enforces respect? Silence is a form of communication. It signals certainty, control, and unshakable resolve. When someone crosses your line and you remain silent, you project strength. You avoid giving them leverage.
You demonstrate that your limits are non-negotiable. Words are often perceived as negotiable. Silence is absolute. Your silence sets the line. Your actions enforce it. Repeat it. Your silence sets the line. Your actions enforce it. The flaw of over-explaining. Most people defend their boundaries by explaining, I can't do that because it's not fair if you, I don't have time for. This is the flaw. Every explanation invites negotiation. Every justification communicates doubt. Every defense weakens perception. It's not about the flaw. It's about discipline. Discipline means saying less, acting more, standing firm regardless of pressure. You have a choice, and that's the key. The discipline of quiet enforcement. Boundaries are enforced through action, not chatter. If you don't want unnecessary meetings, don't attend. If you can't tolerate disrespect, step away. If a relationship is toxic, create distance. Silence carries clarity. Actions carry authority. People notice. People adjust. People respect limits they cannot debate. Your silence sets the line. Your actions enforce it. Repeat it. Your silence sets the line. Your actions enforce it. Real-world examples. 1. Leadership. Strong leaders don't argue about deadlines. They don't defend their decisions endlessly. They enforce boundaries silently through consequences. Miss a deadline? There's accountability. Step out of line? There's a protocol. Words are minimal. Authority is maximum. Personal relationships. Toxic friends test limits constantly. Family members push emotional buttons. Partners cross lines. Responding emotionally invites further testing. Remaining silent and following through with consistent actions commands respect. Workplace dynamics. Micromanagers and overbearing colleagues often ignore verbal limits. The silent professional who consistently upholds policies and procedures gains respect without debate. Your silence sets the line, your actions enforce it. The psychological mechanism. Why does silence work? Humans are wired to interpret non-reaction as strength. When you don't react, others feel uncertainty. Uncertainty creates respect or fear. Repeated consistency solidifies boundaries in their minds. The louder you argue, the weaker your line appears. The calmer and quieter you remain, the more absolute your limits feel. You have a choice, and that's the key. Your silence sets the line, your actions enforce it. Practical steps to enforce boundaries silently. 1. Identify non-negotiables. Write down your limits. Determine what is critical and what is optional. Respond with action, not words. If someone crosses a limit, enforce consequences silently. Do not justify. Do not explain. Let results speak. Consistency is key. Boundaries are respected over time, not in a single conversation. Consistency builds credibility. Consistency creates respect. Avoid emotional justifications. Emotions weaken perception. Detachment strengthens it. Silence conveys that your limits are absolute. Reflect and adjust internally. Ensure your internal discipline matches your external enforcement. Mental clarity ensures boundaries are never compromised. You have a choice, and that's the key. Your silence sets the line. Your actions enforce it. The transformational effect. When you practice silent enforcement, people respect your time. People respect your energy. People respect your authority. You stop being manipulated by words. You stop negotiating for validation. You stop losing power through over-explaining. Instead, your presence commands compliance. Your actions dictate outcomes. Your silence speaks volumes. Your silence sets the line, your actions enforce it. Repeat it. Your silence sets the line, your actions enforce it. Long-term advantage. Most people struggle because they constantly defend boundaries verbally. Most people expend energy explaining, convincing, and justifying. Most people weaken their authority unknowingly. You will excel because you do the opposite. You establish boundaries silently, you uphold limits consistently, you act with discipline. Silence becomes your strongest tool. Actions become your loudest message. Your silence sets the line, your actions enforce it. You have a choice, and that's the key.
Your reputation is not built on what you say. It is not built on the titles you hold. It is not built on the victories you claim. Your reputation is built on how you respond under pressure. Every reaction, every pause, every choice. These define what people think of you and what they respect about you. You have a choice, and that's the key. Silence as the ultimate signal. Silence is not absence. Silence is power. Silence communicates strength without arrogance. When confronted with conflict, criticism, or provocation, your composure signals dominance. Your calmness signals confidence. Your restraint signals intelligence. Every word spoken in haste diminishes authority. Every reaction given immediately is a loss of leverage. Hold your center. Hold your silence. Repeat it. Hold your center. Hold your silence. The flaw of overreaction. Most people destroy their reputations with their own mouths. A heated reply, a sarcastic comment, a defensive explanation. They think defending themselves earns respect. It does not. It reveals insecurity. It exposes weakness. It's not about being aggressive. It's not about proving them wrong. It's about discipline. Discipline in speech. Discipline in action. Discipline in presence. You have a choice, and that's the key. Composure under pressure builds authority. Self-control is visible. It cannot be faked. When the world pushes, stay silent. Observe first. Evaluate the situation. Strategize. Respond only when it matters most. This is how leaders operate. CEOs, generals, negotiators, and elite performers all practice restraint. Silence shows you are untouchable. Your presence becomes commanding. Your words carry weight because they are deliberate. Hold your center. Hold your silence. Behavioral instructions for reputation mastery. 1. Pause before reacting. Even a 5-second pause under pressure recalibrates the situation. It stops the cycle of emotional escalation. It gives you control others cannot anticipate. 2. Speak less, choose more. Every word should serve a purpose. Every statement should move the situation forward. Cut unnecessary commentary. Your restraint speaks volumes. 3. Control your emotions internally. Feelings arise. That's natural. Do not feed them. Label them. Observe them. Let them pass. 4. Project calm through action. Walk slowly. Breathe steadily. Your body communicates discipline even before words do.
Composure is contagious. Others mirror it. You have a choice, and that's the key. Hold your center. Hold your silence. Real-world examples. 1. Business negotiations. Negotiators who remain calm under pressure gain more concessions. They do not argue unnecessarily. They do not prove their point repeatedly. They observe, pause, and let others reveal their positions first. 2. Personal conflicts. In arguments, the person who stays composed wins. Their silence forces others to escalate, exposing weaknesses. Their calmness shifts dynamics in their favor. 3. Public figures and leaders. Leaders under scrutiny rarely react impulsively. Their self-control strengthens credibility. Their silence signals authority and confidence. Hold your center. Hold your silence. Repeat it. Hold your center. Hold your silence. The transformative effect. When you master self-control, people respect your judgment. People trust your decisions. People fear provoking you unnecessarily. Your reputation becomes untouchable. Your influence grows silently. Your presence commands attention without demanding it. It is not about being loud. It is not about being dominant verbally. It is about discipline and composure under pressure. Hold your center. Hold your silence. Long-term advantage. Self-control compounds over time. Every restraint exercised strengthens reputation. Every measured response reinforces authority. External chaos has no effect on you. You operate from a position of calm. Your energy is preserved. Your words are powerful. Your decisions are respected. Most people spend years proving themselves through reaction. You gain influence through strategic restraint. You have a choice, and that's the key. Hold your center. Hold your silence. Your reputation is earned silently. Your authority is solidified quietly. Your influence is built deliberately. Stop reacting to every provocation. Stop over-explaining. Stop proving yourself to anyone who questions you. Instead, observe first. Stay calm. Respond only when it matters. Your reputation is no longer at the mercy of circumstances. It is at the mercy of your discipline. Self-control is the true measure of power. Hold your center. Hold your silence. Now, with self-control cemented as the cornerstone of your reputation, you're ready to learn the final step, how silence transforms into unstoppable influence.
Conflict is inevitable. Arguments happen. Tension rises. But here's the secret most people never learn. You do not have to participate. You do not have to react. You do not have to defend, explain, or justify. You have a choice. And that's the key. Silence as a strategic weapon. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not avoidance. Silence is strength. In tense moments, whether in personal confrontations, heated arguments, or business negotiations, silence serves multiple purposes. It diffuses emotional fire, tempers cool when there is no fuel. It forces the other party to reveal intentions. People speak more when the other side does not. It gives you clarity. You observe, process,
and decide without the fog of reactive emotion. Calm is your weapon. Repeat it. Calm is your weapon. Why people fail. Most people react instantly. A slight insult triggers a barrage of words. A minor provocation escalates into a war. They think engagement is power. It is not. Immediate reaction is submission disguised as action. The more you speak to defend yourself, the more you lose. The louder you argue, the less control you have. The more you try to prove a point in anger, the weaker you appear. It's not about being aggressive. It's not about proving them wrong. It's about discipline. Discipline to pause. Discipline to observe. Discipline to wait. You have a choice, and that's the key. Practical steps for using silence in conflict. 1. Delay your response. Even a 10-second pause shifts the dynamic. It stops the emotional spiral. It allows strategy to enter the moment. 2. Maintain physical composure. Stand or sit calmly. Breathe steadily. Your body language signals control before words even matter. 3. Ask instead of reacting. Sometimes the most powerful move is a simple question. What do you mean by that? What's your real concern here? Questions reveal more than statements. They make the other party confront their own intentions. 4. Let words work against others. When someone escalates, silence amplifies their imbalance. They reveal frustration, weakness, and contradiction. You remain the calm center. Calm is your weapon. Repeat it. Calm is your weapon. Real-world applications. 1. Business negotiations. Negotiators who refuse to react immediately gain leverage. They let the opposing side disclose positions first. They decide when, how, and if to respond. 2. Personal arguments. In relationships, reacting instantly escalates conflict. A silent pause allows tension to dissipate. It gives both parties space to reconsider actions and words. 3. High-stakes confrontations. Law enforcement, diplomacy, and leadership all rely on restraint. A calm presence commands respect. Immediate reaction invites chaos. Hold your center. Hold your silence. The psychological advantage. Silence triggers discomfort. Humans are wired to fill empty space. When you refuse to respond, others over-explain. Others overcommit. Others reveal intentions or weaknesses they intended to hide. Your silence becomes a mirror. It reflects the truth of the situation. It exposes what needs to be addressed without you adding fuel to the fire. Calm is your weapon. Repeat it. Calm is your weapon. Transformation through silence. Using silence strategically transforms you. You conserve energy. You protect your mind from reactive chaos. You gain control over outcomes. Most people think power comes from words. They think strength comes from winning arguments. They are wrong. Power comes from restraint. Strength comes from discipline. Authority comes from calm, consistent presence. You have a choice, and that's the key. Long-term effect. Practice saying nothing during conflict. Do it consistently. Do it deliberately. Over time, your reputation grows. People notice composure. Your influence expands. Others learn to approach you with respect. Your decision-making improves. Clarity replaces reaction. Most people destroy relationships and reputations through unchecked responses. You strengthen yours through measured restraint. Calm is your weapon. Hold your center. hold your silence. Conflict is not a test of your ability to argue. Conflict is a test of your ability to control yourself. Do not feed the fire with words. Do not escalate tension with emotion. Do not react because everyone else expects it. Instead, pause. Observe. Respond only when it serves your mission, your peace, or your integrity. Your silence is not emptiness. It is strategy. It is strength. It is victory without combat. You have a choice. You have the power. You have the weapon of calm.
Pain is inevitable. Disappointment will come. Failure will strike. Betrayal will sting. It is not the pain itself that defines you. It is your response. It is your discipline in the quiet moments afterward. You have a choice, and that's the key. The power of post-pain silence. Most people react immediately to pain. They lash out, they argue, they seek instant relief through noise, words, or action. This is the natural human impulse, but it is also the path to weakness. Reacting in pain spreads the injury further. Silence, on the other hand, is a tool of transformation. It pauses the emotional storm. You give yourself space to think. It redirects energy from reaction to rebuilding. It prevents others from exploiting your hurt. Turn down the noise. Turn up the discipline. Repeat it. Turn down the noise. Turn up the discipline. Why people fail after pain. Many let anger and resentment dictate their next move. They lash out at coworkers, friends, or loved ones. They vent publicly. They post on social media. All of this feels like power, but it is temporary illusion. Noise gives the impression of action. Words give the illusion of control. Immediate reaction exposes weakness. It's not about revenge. It's not about proving them wrong. It's about discipline. Discipline to wait. Discipline to rebuild. Discipline to rise silently, stronger than before. You have a choice, and that's the key. Silence as a rebuilding mechanism. When you face setbacks, silence is your workspace. Observe the lessons. Pain carries messages. The moment you pause, you can see them. What went wrong? What can I fix? What will I never repeat? Observation is empowerment. Rushing destroys insight. Protect your energy. Reactions burn mental and emotional resources. Silence conserves energy for action that matters. Silence protects your mind while the world buzzes around you. Reclaim control. Every unplanned reaction is a transfer of power. Every impulsive word gives away authority. Every heated post or angry call leaves you weaker. Calm, measured silence is the act of taking your power back. Turn down the noise. Turn up the discipline. Repeat it. Turn down the noise. Turn up the discipline. Real-world applications. Number 1. Professional setbacks. You miss a promotion. A deal falls through. A project fails. Most will lash out, complain, or blame others. The disciplined approach: pause, assess, strategize, move silently, deliberately, and decisively. Number 2.
personal betrayal. A friend or partner deceives you. The natural instinct is confrontation. Immediate reactions often escalate tension and prolong pain. Silence allows you to observe intentions, set boundaries, and reclaim emotional stability. Number 3. Public failures. You embarrass yourself. You fail in public. Noise amplifies humiliation. Silence contains it. You process. You learn. You rise. Your reaction is your message. Silent composure communicates strength more than any word. The psychological edge. Silence after pain is not passive. It is active mental engineering. It resets your emotional baseline. You refuse to be carried by reactive waves. It amplifies focus on long-term objectives, not short-term satisfaction. It signals maturity. People notice calm composure after adversity. Pain without immediate reaction is a weapon. It builds resilience. It strengthens character. It shapes future victories. Turn down the noise. Turn up the discipline. Repeat it. Turn down the noise. Turn up the discipline. Transformation through silence. The silent moments after failure are the birthplace of transformation. You rebuild stronger than before. You reset priorities with clarity. You rise above reactive cycles that trap most people. Most will scream, argue, or complain. You will wait. You will observe. You will execute silently and effectively. This is not easy. This is not natural. This is discipline. It is what separates those who survive setbacks from those who thrive because of them. You have a choice, and that's the key. Practical exercises. Post-pain, pause. When disappointment strikes, step back for at least 1 hour. Observe without speaking. Reflect without sharing. Journal your lessons. Write insights, strategies, and next steps. No audience, no noise. Pure self-assessment. Controlled action. After silent processing, take deliberate action that moves toward growth. Not reaction, but strategy in motion. Turn down the noise. Turn up the discipline. Repeat it. Turn down the noise. Turn up the discipline. Pain is not the enemy. Noise is the enemy. Immediate reactions are the enemy. Silence turns injury into insight. Silence turns setback into strategy. Silence turns loss into leverage. You do not need permission to pause. You do not need permission to process. You do not need permission to rise stronger. Turn down the noise. Turn up the discipline. Hold your silence. Harness your pain. Silence is the bridge between defeat and dominance. It is the weapon of the disciplined. It is the path to power. You have a choice. You have the control. You have the silent strength. Now rise. Now execute. Now transform.
You don't win by shouting. You don't win by reacting. You win by controlling the energy inside you, the silence around you, and the battles you choose to enter. You win by observing longer, responding slower, and refusing to hand your power to anyone who didn't earn it. Every moment of silence you hold becomes a brick in the fortress of your discipline. Every time you refuse to react, you rise. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you sharpen your edge.